So when you've got something you're struggling with that you want to get over and you want to be someone else, you want to evolve out of this state where you are and you want to be doing something else, or you want to be feeling something else, then often we try to do it alone first. We read self-help books and we dive into podcasts, and that's all brilliant. But sometimes there comes a stage where we need therapy, and we know that we need therapy because we suddenly realize that our energy by itself is not getting us there, and we need to borrow the energy of somebody else. We need to find somebody to share the compassion and the empathy, and somebody to help us and guide us to perhaps see things in a different way, because we very rarely solve a problem by looking at it from the same consciousness or the same place where that problem started. So we have to move past that. And therapy is a bit like, you know, when you want to see the back of your own head and you get a mirror and you look at yourself in the mirror and you can see so much more, can't you, than before. But people only tend to go for therapy when their problems reach a certain level, because we get used to living with our problems. We get used to it. We learn to cope. And often the thought of doing whatever we believe we need to do to get out of that problem is scarier than living with the problem itself. And this is one of the things that keeps us stuck. So once you do realize that you want to get help and you want somebody to guide you and to share this journey with you, then the next question is, how do I choose? Because you and I both know there are so many different types of therapy out there, aren't there? You've got cognitive behavioral therapy, which is one of the most studied and has been proven to be one of the most effective types to cure a multitude of things. But you also have acceptance and commitment therapy, you have hypnotherapy, you have mindfulness, you have psychotherapy, you have energy therapies like Reiki, and then you have more physical ones like acupuncture. And there's so many different types of therapy out there that it can just seem overwhelming. Where do you start? How do you know what's right for you? But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you something that you've probably not seen before. And this is going to help you understand why perhaps the type of therapy that you go for might not be as important as you might think. And, you know, I certainly know that when I'm using different modalities with my clients, I like them to get there as fast as possible. And I also like to get them running as autonomously as possible. You know, that old expression is you can give a man a fish and he can eat for a day. But if you teach a man to fish, then he can eat for the rest of his life. And really that's what therapy should be about. Therapy should be about getting you standing on your own 2 feet eventually and being able to use the skills and tools for yourself. At least that's what I believe anyway. So what I'm going to show you is this. Okay, and I've got my pen here because I think sometimes these things are better explained visually. So this here is my wonderful work of art, and I'm going to show you now how everything works and how perhaps the type of therapy you get can be very different for you, and how, you know, different strategies can all produce the same effect. In other words, there's more than one way to do something. They have that awful expression, don't they? There's more than one way to skin a cat. Awful expression, but in this case, it's absolutely true. There are many different therapies and many different ways of doing things. So I'm going to talk you through this now. So what happens here, first of all, is we're walking through life. I've drawn this little man here. He's got a nice flat mouth right now because he's feeling neutral. He's not happy, he's not sad, he's just walking along. And then all of a sudden he's using his senses all the time to input information of what he's experiencing as he goes through his life. All of a sudden he bumps into a cat. Now this cat could be sitting on the street, could be crossing the road, I don't know what the cat's doing, but whatever happens here, his senses input information in. And this cat, this activating event, that's what the A is for, is then run through the database of the brain. And what the brain does is it pattern matches. So it's looking for any experiences to do with what it's with this cat. And at the end of the day, it then decides, is this safe or is this unsafe? Really, those are the two main concerns of the brain. But what it then does is creates a feeling in our body. Now all of these stages here are totally unconscious. You're not aware that they're going on. And in fact, the feeling that comes first in the body then controls what happens next, which is the thoughts. So at this stage now, we start to become here, right here, is what we're aware of. Okay, all of this is unconscious. Now, when we start getting our thoughts, they do one of two things, don't they? They either make the feeling grow and they hang on to it, because really this feeling here only lasts 90 seconds. And if we let it go, we let it go. But sometimes we get hooked, don't we? And it's the thoughts that hook us. So these thoughts here either make the feeling bigger, stronger, or more intense, or they do the opposite and they make us feel calm and they are helpful to our situation. And or perhaps sometimes we just ignore the thoughts, don't we, and we let them go and we don't let them hook us. Okay, so these are the bits that we've got control over. And then these thoughts are what make us act. So it's the thoughts plus the feelings that make us do something, because without the feeling energy, that is the energy that you are gifted with from the universe, let's say, and that feeling energy is designed to make you act. It's designed to make you move through your life. So this is what's going on each and every single moment that you're awake, moving through your life. This is what's happening. Okay. Now, it's quite intense, this, isn't it? Especially when you consider that you're receiving over 2 million bits of information per second through those senses. Your brain is always having to decide what's important and what isn't, and it makes those decisions based on where you're focusing in your life. Whatever you're paying attention to the most in your life and having strong feelings about, those are the things that your brain deems are important to you. So it's tuned, if you will, to spot and notice and observe anything to do with those things that you're paying attention to. So bearing this in mind, it tries to automate everything as much as possible, which is when we get stuck in these loops and habits and things that we don't want to have in the self-sabotage. When we've had some, errors here and we've perhaps learned that cats are scary for some reason, when cats aren't really scary, are they? Some people see them as cute and fluffy and adorable, and some people who might have been scratched by one as a child or frightened by one as a child or had some other, sinister experience with cats might feel very differently. Excuse me. So whatever it is we're going through in our life shapes all of this that comes next. Now, each therapy that we go to targets different areas of this system. The very first thing for me is to become self-aware, because without becoming aware of what's going on and without, allowing things to be there so you can observe them, then you don't gain control, you've got no free will, and you can't move beyond this stage to do anything else. For me, this is where mindfulness comes in and is very important, because you need the mindfulness to take control. You need to be aware of what it is that you're feeling and the triggers, and to just notice without judgment what's going on. And that's what mindfulness is all about. Then the next thing that you need to do is to look at changing our relationship with the past sometimes, changing how we're making sense of those past events and changing the way that we feel about the past. And for this, hypnotherapy can be gold, but so can CBT. Okay. Hypnotherapy and CBT is about changing our relationship with our past and, you know, looking at new ways of seeing and being, and then through the act of mentally rehearsing them in hypnosis and changing things on a very unconscious level, we can then alter what happens here. So by the time we get here and we're working with the awareness levels, which are the thoughts and the actions, these are behavioural therapies. Behavioural, I think I spelled that wrong actually. Therapies. Okay, and CBT very much falls into this category. Now, CBT is about learning to work with the thoughts and about changing the thoughts, replacing the thoughts with much more helpful ones, and developing new thinking habits that are reinforced with new behaviours. So anything that works with behaviour is very powerful because we learn through behaviour, we learn through experience, we master things. If you think about when you're going to the gym and you're trying something new for the first time, after a few goes, the body just gets it, doesn't it? The body then puts it into the unconscious, and it all happens without effort. This is the effortless part. So in my treatment room, what I like to do is to mix all this. I don't believe in just using one modality, because I think we need to pepper the sessions with whatever is right for you, whatever works with your belief system. Changing this alters our belief and expectation, because when you're moving into a new situation, let's say you know this happens when you're around cats, let's say you have this awful feeling when you're around cats, and you know that's going on. So when somebody says to you, are you coming around to my house, and you know they've got a cat, what is your belief and expectation about that? Are you looking forward to it, or are you thinking, oh gosh, it's going to be awful? And that is the brain putting the brakes on and trying to protect you before you even get into these situations. And this is something that hypnotherapy also tackles quite well too. So, you know, changing expectations, changing beliefs, working with these, working with what you already believe is a vital part of the process. So I don't know, after watching this, if you're any clearer, or, you know, hopefully I've not overwhelmed you and confused you even more. But when somebody asks me what kind of therapy is right for me, until we sit down and we start talking and I know when to apply each of the different modalities, I can't answer that question, because it's not one size fits all in my experience, and everybody does have different belief systems, and those are what we have to work with. So have a think about this, message me if you've got any questions, and thank you for watching. Mwah! Have a nice day.